All right,
Well,
let's.
greetings everybody, and welcome to my YouTube channel, All That Is. I'm so glad to have you here, and I apologize for the technical difficulties and the delay. This is my first time live streaming, so yay, we did it. I hope it all works out. But I'd appreciate it if you can love, like, and share this video. Leave us a comment down below. Help me out with my channel. Hit that notifications bell, and yeah, so you don't miss out on any future notifications or updates. Welcome, Katrice. Welcome to the show, and thank
Hi,
you for being
Raquel.
here. Hi. Well, we had a great first introductory show last week, and I thought that was awesome. And we had some good comments as well. So, yeah, we are on show number 2 for Galactically Speaking with Raquel and Katrice. And so, yeah, so today I'd like to just introduce the show by just letting our viewers know that Catrice and I are here to bring forth our own perspective of healing humanity through our individual tools and healing modalities. Well, before we dive into today's show, we just wanted to, I wanted to let you know that we'll be chatting about the divine feminine and divine masculine energies. And then perhaps if we have time, we'll just delve into the music industry and the frequency of music as we experience it today. So for healing, Catrice offers healing sessions that brings clients into alignment with who they are on a soul level through intuitive soul readings, meditation circles, spiritual development classes, and energy healing sessions. And yeah, she does all of this from um, Surrey in British Columbia, correct? That's where you are,
Yes,
right?
that's
Yeah,
where I am.
yeah. So I'll leave her contact information down in the description so you can reach out to Catrice and yeah, and take advantage of all of these things that she has to offer. My teachings, I take you through energy healing sessions for anyone looking to heal trauma, clearing dark or stuck energy, and assisting with strengthening and realigning your connection to the higher self energies. I also recently started working with connecting loved ones to those that have passed away and just healing those energies and trauma that might be associated with those energies. So I take clients through a meditation session of reclaiming their authenticity and the soul's essence, anchoring the higher light as it aligns with the higher self. And then I do a chakra clearing, chakra energy clearing, so that these energies are aligned and anchored to the higher light. And then just releasing any and all energies that do not serve your present authentic self. And then as a bonus, I usually try to offer a message or any kind of messages that come in from the Ascended Masters. So I tune in and that's sort of something that I like to offer to my customers or to my clients. Um, and then I have other stuff, which is like, I offer meditation and recorded free information as guidance that is available on my YouTube channel, on my website, through my blog. I've also written 2 books, which are available on Amazon, and they can be accessed through my website as well. The first one was written with a collective of 3, and it's called All That Is Progressing to the Fifth Dimension. It's all marked up, but yeah, and it's kind of mirrored. So, and then the second one is The Voice of an Angel, and it's oh, you can see that, right? And it's a direct channeling from Yeshua ben Joseph, also known as Jesus, and it's a memoir of his life and his experiences as a light worker.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I was just a quick little aside. Remember at the end of this, remind me
Hmm.
to tell you what you can do so that when you hold this up, they're going to be able to
Yeah,
see
I
it.
can actually
Okay.
mirror it, but I'll have to go
Yeah,
and
yeah. No,
mess with the
no.
settings. I should have done that, but I think I
You're
know where
welcome.
it is.
Okay.
But thank you. Yes. Um, And so, yeah, these beings have a wealth of information to share with humanity at this time as we progress individually and collectively on our ascension process and the evolution of our souls. So, I've been personally guided to bring this information into the collective. And so, this has been my mission for the last few years, bringing this information to the many in whatever way I can. And so that manifested in the form of the book and my YouTube channel, and now I offer healing sessions. And most recently, I've been connecting with Mary Magdalene, and she's been transmitting a lot of messages to me that are recorded on my YouTube channel as well. So please feel free to go and listen to those messages, um, and hopefully it'll benefit you in your process and your ascension journey. And yes, again, both information for myself and Catrice will be provided in the description below. So please feel free to reach out to either one of us if you feel called to have sessions with either one of us. And I'm sure we'll be more than happy to welcome you. So let's get started with today's chat.
Okay, right on. What? No
Did
drum
you
roll?
have anything to add to my little introduction there?
Your little introduction.
I know it went
Um,
on for a bit, hey?
well, no. It's just it's interesting. Okay. I've been doing this work, my work, for like probably 30, 35 years, right? And so over those years, I've honed what it's become. And to actually say all these different things that occur. I never really say that, but when I was listening to you, I was just thinking, oh, okay, times two. This is what Katrice does, except I don't work with individual energies like Mary Magdalene or whatever. For me,
Yeah.
whatever is choosing to come through and work with whoever I'm working with, right? It's sort of, for me, I find it very liberating because I don't have to think about it. I just intuitively allow it in, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. And then talking to those loved ones that have passed on, but still have messages for those here. That's an amazing blessing as far as I'm
Yeah.
concerned. When you are able to let them know that this is real. And it's not because they can see it, touch it, taste it, but they feel it. And you just know there's something about when you connect in on those higher levels, every part of your body goes zoop. Well, at least for me, it does. Sort of like that picture behind you, that boom,
Yes.
everything opens, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally.
No, it's awesome. And I think I told you this during our last conversation that I recently lost a friend, right?
Yes.
And so that sort of yeah, it sort of compounded my connection, if you will, to the other side. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it just overlaid all of the teachings that I've been receiving from Yeshua as well. And so I was like, why not? Why not offer this to anybody that's wanting that information or that guidance or help, really,
Totally.
in
I also,
reaching
one
the.
more thing I was going to say, a lot
Mhm.
of people, I mean, there's people that might be tuned in that have been following this for a long time. And then there's people sort of just, you know, treading water, trying to see if they feel comfortable with this. So
Yeah.
I always say, if you've got any questions about anything that I do or you do, I always say, give us a call, shoot us an email. And, what do you call that thing? It's not free with purchase. If you were doing a business thing, it would be complimentary
Oh,
first
yeah.
conversation. Is that how you do it?
Like a consultation.
That's it, right? As you
Okay.
can
Yeah,
see, I've
yeah, yeah.
never really thought of it as a business either. It's just, this is what I do.
Yeah,
And they asked me
absolutely.
that today too. Well, you run a business, don't you? And I'm going, I don't think of it as a business. It's a
Yeah,
craft. I think we
yeah.
talked about that last week too, for me at least, right? It's a calling. It's,
It is a calling, yeah.
you know,
And
I,
that's been a struggle for me too, right? Because as you know, I've been so entrenched in the corporate world since age 16, really. I've been,
mhm.
working my ass off, really.
Yeah,
But to be honest, I don't have anything to show for it. So I I figured out, why not dedicate my life, the rest of my life, to something that really matters.
Uh-huh.
And so, yeah, so that's where I'm at, as far as that's concerned, right? And so, yeah, so I've been building this, my website, and just promoting everything that's come through, and trying to make it, because
Hmm.
there's no other way to do it, but you have to get involved in a manner that's acceptable in a way to the society that we live in, right?
Totally. Totally.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. And
So
it's
yeah,
also about networking and sharing. And,
yeah.
the more souls that start connecting into these higher vibrations, it would be so much more peaceful the whole planet over. You know,
Yes.
it would be able to combat some of those darker energies that are
That love to
seeking
infiltrate.
control. Yeah, I
Yep,
hear ya.
absolutely.
Totally. Hmm.
So I just wanted to sort of introduce our subject for today. We hope to be talking about the divine feminine and divine masculine. Um, what does
Sorry.
that mean to you, Catrice, when I say divine feminine and divine
That
masculine?
isn't what I was chuckling about. You said, so this is what we hope to be talking about. And all of a sudden I heard swirl, unless something else grabs our attention. But the
Yeah.
divine
No, I mean,
feminine,
I'm open to talking about anything, but I thought we'll just sort of
yeah, well,
guide this
it's nice to
conversation in a
have
way
a,
that's useful, right?
yeah. So for me, the divine feminine and the divine masculine, we always, well, most people think of, okay, the divine feminine is over here, the female, the divine masculine's over here, the male. And if you're lucky to connect in with a complementary divine counterpart, that divine masculine, divine feminine, oh, blessings. However, on another level, for me, in our journey to become the most succinct, the most connected that we are, it's in our best interest to blend that divine feminine within us with the divine feminine within us and get those two working in sync, which makes you into a much more conscious being. It's like I have this one deck of divination cards I have, and it looks like there's a man vision and a female like this. And one is looking to the left, one is looking to the right. So, what that says to me is the masculine perspective sees the world through his lens, and the feminine perspective sees it through her lens. And it doesn't mean that one's right or one's wrong, but the two need to be working in concert for everything to come into a place of balance. So for me, that is the divine masculine and feminine. And I should mention, I have a picture up on my wall that I was walking down a street one day. You'll understand where this story is coming from. I'm walking down the street, and I'm sure it was Boxing Day, and I hadn't bought myself a Christmas present, and I'm going
Okay.
past this print shop, right? And it was as if my foot had stepped into something that pushed me right back when my eye caught sight of this picture. And I went, oh my God, I'm in trouble. I wonder how much that is. I have to find out what's it all about. So I walked in, and in my head I went, if it's $200, I'm not paying any more than $200. Mm-hmm. It's important to I'll anyway. So I go in and I went, oh my God, could you please tell me about the artist? I really want to know, where did this person come from and what is this all about? And I've been really working with the idea of the divine masculine and feminine fully integrating within myself. Well,
Hmm.
haha, this guy, all his work was focused on the blending of the divine masculine and feminine. And
Oh,
the
wow.
picture was $198 framed.
Oh my God. It was meant for you.
It was so amazing. And
Yeah.
it's like that divine feminine and masculine, when we're really looking for it, when we're really tuning in, it's like life, there is this real balance in it,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Like
And
I'm
it's
very
like,
female,
yeah. And
but
when you need that energy, you just call it in, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
I have that piece of me that every so often I'm being a little too woo, and that other Katrice comes in and sort of goes, hello. And I've
Yeah.
noticed that coming up lately because of some very unbalanced male female energies that have been around me. And I actually I felt these words coming out, and to this woman that was extremely annoying. And I remember going, okay, and I actually put my finger up and I went, I think you should take a step back. And she wasn't used to anybody calling her on it, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
then, and it wasn't anything, I wasn't mean, but I really felt that other aspect of me come forth.
Mm-hmm.
And for those who don't know, I'm a real little short ass, right? And I think of myself as so much bigger, but I think it's because of that resonance with all that I am.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think
Mhm.
you're absolutely right. Yeah.
So,
Um,
so,
so
and then for you,
for me, it comes from various different aspects, and just for the sake of for the audience, I'd like to read a passage or a couple of pages, I think it is,
oh,
from the
good
first
story
book,
time. Okay.
um, All That Is. And so this is the initial creation story, if you will. And this is what goes back to perhaps the Adam and Eve story, but this is from the perspective of three, or the collective of three that um, channeled the book for me, right? That gave me this information. So, um, so it was time to take the big step forward and birth this being into life. So this is the birthing of Adam, if you will,
Okay.
and to then go into dividing the two so that they may flourish as a polarity within a species. All that is decided to name this whole energy a soul. It was decided that when the time came for the soul energy to come into fruition, this energy would share a balance within themselves. There you go, supporting the other in their innate polarity. The physical aspect of the man and the womb, and it's pronounced as womb man,
Woman,
right?
woman. Oh, I like that.
Earmarked for procreation would mimic some of the energies of the many that it was comprised of, from the many parts of the creatures it was built upon. Within this too there would be a polarity of that innate energy of all that is, that had discovered between male and the female of the many species. In its highly excited state, all that is summoned all of its energies of love, magnitude, majesty, and power. And while this was taking place, the rest of the surrounding energies and galaxies, in proximity to this being, became aware that something magnificent and mighty was about to take place.
Mm.
They stayed calm and quiet and waited in anticipation for what was to come. All that is took a deep breath, and with all of its good intentions for this energy's survival and abundance, it breathed into its creative energy of what this being would entail. This being slowly came to life in the form of energy, intelligence, vibration, and frequency. As its energies and its frequencies began to connect to each other, lighting up and illuminating each part that was attached to the other, it slowly began to take shape and form. As it lit up from the electrical connections taking place within its being, it raised itself up to its feet. All that is could see that the frequency of love was the strongest energy that illuminated from the midsection of this being along the snake like skeleton that it had designed with the various other frequencies that would make up the energetic framework of this being. It watched as these energies it watched as these energy centers ignited and came to light and connected with all the other circuits within the body that made up the cells and molecules of the body. As it progressed to become a whole, it continued to progress towards the top of the body, where the most important area of the body was beginning to develop. The heart area where the love frequency resided was sending all of its vibrations and energy towards the development and construction of the intelligence and the other light energy centers that would reside in the throat, the eye area, and the crown area. All of these areas began to ignite and create their circuitous journey of developing these areas and connecting all the energies to their cells and molecules. It was quite fascinating to watch all that is wept as it experienced a sense of relief as these creations came into fruition before its eyes. This was very much like it had imagined this creature to be, and more.
Wow.
So
I
that was
really
the,
like Womb Man.
so that was the initial creation of the divine masculine. So I'll just try and quickly read through this, but this was the second part. So this is the female part of it.
Okay, so that was like, let's
That
say
was
Adam.
Adam. Yeah,
Okay.
or the initial impression of Adam.
Okay.
As time went on, all that is wondered if it was time. So this was a few pages later, right? And a few, maybe a little while later. All that is wondered if it was time to create Adam's polarity and bring into existence the other half of his soul so that they could begin to interact and procreate and further develop their species. All that is decided that it was time, and so it left Adam's side and went to a quiet place so that it could concentrate on its decision whether to have Adam's being, whether to sever Adam's being or create a new one. After much thought, it decided to create a new one, endowing this creature with the female parts of procreation to match those of Adam's male parts in their polarity. All that is summoned all of its creative energy again, bringing forth all of the plans that it had made earlier into the forefront of its energy and with intent as it brought this new creature to life.
Mm.
As the work began, all that is again was fascinated by the process of bringing this creature to life. It remembered the process of bringing Adam to life and it became overwhelmed with the love energy. It was overwhelmed and in awe of what it had created and how Adam was now progressing so well with his life and his existence. It knew that this creature would be that much more special as it was to be the polarity of what Adam was, and so it began to, in its mind, imagine all the things that Adam was not and endowed this creature with those energies. As it did this, all that is would often go into a dreamlike state as it began to imagine the possibilities of what this creature would become. All that is forced its thoughts and energies back to the task at hand to continue the sacred work of bringing this being into existence. During this time of trance and dreamlike existence, all that is wandered deeply into the earth, trying to find the essence of its creation. As with Adam, all that is breathed energy into this being and allowed for all of the connections to interact with each other and the various parts of all the other creations to meld and connect their energies to the central body and the central chakra system. As these energies were developing, all that is paid special attention to the womb and the capabilities of this creature and what it would be bringing and that it would be bringing new life into existence. It carefully crafted and worked on all of these energies so that they were perfect and to its utmost satisfaction. Once the body was created, the process of bringing the head into fruition was the most extensive and intricate work that needed to take place. So, all that is developed much of its effort, devoted much of its effort to this process. It resulted in creating a beautiful looking creature with finer and more delicate features than Adam. It also gave this creature all of the mannerisms that would allow for this being to nurture and take care of itself, Adam, and their progeny with all of its heart energy.
Mm.
It provided this creature with all of the things it saw that Adam was deficient in or missing, and so this creature, in its mind, would be a complex and highly intelligent being. All that is was immensely proud of its accomplishment, but when it was time to finally bring this being into life, it became very anxious. It was time, but it was still unsure if this was the right action. It began to worry about Adam and what their relationship might be like now that this new creature would be introduced into the world that they had created together. All of these thoughts were going through its mind. So all that is paused for a while and contemplated its actions for some time. It began to envision various scenarios in its mind about relationships, emotions, and the feeling of how all of this would manifest within the workings of what had now been created in the garden.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think that should be it about Eve.
Hmm.
Interesting, hey?
Well, when you're talking about the electrical frequencies, okay, you
Mm-hmm.
know, we talk about twin souls, no, soulmates, twin flames,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's twin souls. Well, I remember this fellow I met, and there was that instant connection. And I always hug people. Well, the two of us went to hug, and this incredible bolt of light shot through both of us. And it was like we were both just synced up. And finally, he sort of steps away and he goes, "What was that?" And I went, "What that is is obviously you and I have got some major twin soul energy here."
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was unbelievable. And I'm like maybe 5'1". This fellow was like 6'2", 6'3",
Oh, wow.
great big guy. But if we were side by side and you looked at us, our profiles were identical. It was
Oh,
the
really?
freakiest thing,
Wow.
and it was like that was interesting. It wasn't a twin flame because it was so much like we could spend 5 hours together and it was like spending 5 years with another person. It was unbelievable how your evolution gets kicked up when
Mm-hmm,
you
mm-hmm,
connect
mm-hmm.
in with someone like that,
So
right?
did you get like impressions that this was like a twin flame energy?
Oh,
Like,
he was, yeah, totally. He and
okay.
I, there was so much stuff. Oh my God. We when we would talk, there'd be times when it would be like lifetime after lifetime that we kept coming back together. It was really very interesting. And this wasn't something he'd ever consciously looked into. But like I said earlier, you feel it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not like anything you can figure out in your little old mind because it's energetic. It's
Yeah,
all
absolutely.
vibration, right? Mm-hmm. But that, yeah, that divine feminine, masculine, yeah. And
And
the
now
signs,
fast forward to what we are living in, which is totally,
totally,
I don't
totally.
know, there's so much that's happened, right, since then. Um, and then if you look at the divine feminine and masculine aspect of perhaps Yeshua and Mary Magdalene
Mm-hmm.
and what they portray, right? And so even if we go back to 2000 years ago, which is when they manifested on this earth plane, it was
Mm-hmm.
very different to what we are experiencing as far as a feminine and divine masculine
Oh,
aspect, right?
well,
um
there's so all right, you start talking about misogyny, but it's like the feminine in itself is being so diminished on
yeah,
so many levels
yeah,
and in so many countries, right?
yeah.
And being thrown back into almost the dark ages with the patriarchy trying to really keep that feminine energy down, right?
Hmm, hmm.
And it's hard enough anyway, but now so many young women are being um, born in these countries with this strength that is not going to allow them to be pushed down, right?
Hmm, hmm.
And that is like that total divine feminine rising up
Yeah,
into the fullness of her being, right?
yeah,
Totally.
and from my perspective, I have a totally different perspective right now that I've got this larger sort of awakening, if you will. And so for me, that suppression comes from the invasion of these forces that came in from a totally different plane of existence. You're frozen, Catrice. Did I lose you? Oh, you're okay.
Oh, I was very still. No.
Okay, you were very still.
I was
I thought I
extremely still.
lost
I
you.
was
Okay.
listening and my mind was going somewhere else at the same time too.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
so to me
these
it's like,
forces. Okay, when you're
yeah,
so are we talking, was it Davos?
Draco, the
Draco.
Draco.
Is
Yeah, the
that,
Draco
are we
invasion.
talking from that end? Okay.
Well, there's many different galactic wars, right? But for
Hmm.
me, the one that's more prevalent, if you will, is the Draco wars and the Draco invasion. And
Okay.
so when that invasion happened, because for me it's more realistic because we are still in that situation, and
Hmm.
we're just coming out of that situation, if you will.
Okay,
Because
so when can you, what's the time frame?
oh, it's hard for us to put a time frame to it. I would say at least 27,000 years ago.
Okay. So this is old,
Yeah,
old energy.
it's
So,
really hard to put a you know
and no wonder it's
Earth's
so,
time to it, right?
yeah.
And so it goes way, way, way back. It's even before the Yeshua and Mary incarnation, right? And so what they experienced at that time was still the Draco invasion, and it showed up in the form of the Romans, right? And so they were the suppressing
Um,
energy at that time.
oh yeah, they conquered everything, didn't they?
Yeah, yeah. So this has been a very, very long sort of cycle, right?
Mm.
Of when these beings came to Earth and invaded it and took it for their own, right? And so very recently, I would put that to 20 20 2012
Yeah.
in our reality is when the Creator gave a decree to these beings to leave the Earth plane. And so, based on universal law or galactic law, if you will,
So
they've been
2012, you said, right?
2012. Yeah, they've been given a decree to leave this Earth plane. And so there was like I, people call it the Galactic Federation, but I don't know if that's a good way to describe them. There's so many factions that came together, right? Like
Mm.
there are many different realities, if you will, or beings from other planets, and some of them I can name here, like the Pleiades or the Arcturians
So the
or the
Syrians, or yeah, yeah.
Andromedans, or the civilizations of the Orion. Now these the people that actually invaded us are from the Draco constellation and some factions from the Orion constellation. So they teamed up and they formed this group that essentially went on an invading spree, if you will, along the galaxies, and the Earth plane was one of the places that they invaded. And so they wreaked havoc wherever they went. And for them to live on these planes of existences, they had to bring the frequency down to their level, if you will, of frequency, so that they could survive.
Mm.
And so when they invaded the Earth plane, it was flourishing, it was abundant, um, it was an Earth plane that was vibrating at a frequency between the fifth and the seventh dimension. And
Mm.
these beings flourished within a frequency of between the third and the fourth dimension. So a very low third to fourth dimension, somewhere in
Mm.
there, right? And so when they landed on the Earth plane, they had to find a way to reduce the frequency of the Earth in order to live on the Earth plane. And because um, they were quite sophisticated and in their sort of technologically, right? They were more sophisticated and they could do these things, and so they put up frequency fences all over the Earth plane, and they brought the frequency
Oh,
down.
okay. Yeah, yeah.
And so now we are in the process, along with the higher dimensional beings that are coming to assist with this decree that I just talked about that was
Mm-hmm.
issued. And so, in order for that to take place, we have to collapse these frequency fences in a way so that, for one, the earth could be freed. And the second part is at the time of the invasion, the beings that were captured here on the earth plane have remained here for lifetime after lifetime after lifetime,
Ah,
right?
okay.
And so this is the information that I've received not only from Yeshua but also from the collective of three that I work with. And their perspective is that these beings or these energies that were captured were like put into this rebirthing cycle, if you will, that went, one lifetime after the other, because these beings, they were essentially, they wanted to live their own lives. They didn't want to live according to the evolution, if you will, that the creator had created.
Uh-huh.
It's like, you say, for example, you are an insect, right? Your evolution from an insect would then perhaps become a cat in the next lifetime, and then
Yeah.
from a cat you become a dog, and from a dog you become a human, and then human you become a light being, and then light being goes on to, fifth
Mm-hmm.
dimension, sixth dimension, seventh dimension, and goes on to, there's, I believe, I recently learned there's like 144 dimensions. So it could be much more than that, right? This is just what I've become aware of now.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's no limit to your progress as a soul, right? And your soul's evolution. And so these beings, they didn't necessarily want to follow this evolution cycle as created by the creator, or all that is, or whatever you want to name that energy, right? And so they went off on their own and said, we'll just live our lives the way we want to. And that's why they went on this, spree of,
Rampage.
destruction. Um,
Ha.
and so in that lower vibration of conquering and destroying,
Mm-hmm.
they came to the earth plane and captured whoever lived on the earth plane at that time.
And so
And so,
they're incarnates that are on the earth plane. They're on the earth plane now. As you were talking, what I
mhm,
was getting was it feels to me that, I'm not a real political person, but you can't help but pay attention to what's going on everywhere.
yeah,
And you look at all of these, how can I, maybe fascist, if you want to call it
yeah,
that way,
yeah,
regimes seem to be taking hold again in so many countries, not to mention you know who. And you
mm.
sort of think, I wonder if he who shall remain unnamed could be one of those disruptors. Could the
Well,
person in
funny you should
France?
say that.
Yeah.
You're talking about DTJ.
Uh-huh.
So he has apparently, like, I had um a recent communication with Mary Magdalene
Mm-hmm.
about this, when he first won the election. And I was like, what does this mean for the world at large, and, for the evolution process, really?
Mm-hmm.
And so her perspective was that it is a good thing for him to come into office, because this being somehow has the ability to bring the entire um, earth, if you will, like all the leaders from all the other countries
Mm-hmm.
together,
Mm-hmm.
so that this evolution process can take place. See, you
Right.
have to understand that we are in a time crunch, if you will, because this evolution cycle has to take place by 2016. That's what I've been given.
2016?
Sorry,
Right.
2060, 60.
Oh, okay. Because
So
everything is speeding up anyway. It's getting
yeah,
faster
so
and
we are on
faster.
a we are on a f- on an accelerated timeline, if you will, to get to that point, because I think I mentioned this in our last conversation. We are traversing through the photon belt right now.
Yes, yes. And
And
that's
so this
why
is
things
like,
are so
yeah, s-
everything.
yeah,
Anybody who is the slightest bit aware
yeah,
is feeling it. And even lots of souls that haven't a clue are
yeah,
feeling it. They just have
exactly.
no idea what's
Yeah.
going on.
So we have, and I think that's when the time sort of shifts into, like, we sort of fade out of that photon belt, I believe, around 2060. So this is like the
Mm,
ideal time for us to have this evolution, if you will, of our souls, and like finally remove ourselves from this constriction, if you will, from that the Draco imposed on us.
yeah,
And
totally.
so during that invasion, and I'm sort of coming a roundabout way back to the sort of the repression, if you will, or the imposition on the feminine energy that was
Hmm.
experienced because of this invasion, right?
Right?
So they took the men as prisoners and as slaves when they invaded, and the women they took as breeders because they wanted to inbreed with the women
Wow.
on the earth
Yeah.
plane. Now, I don't know if you've got a vision of what these beings look like, but they are essentially lizard-like
Yeah.
creatures,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
With a humanoid body, but they are like huge and hefty. Like physically, they're huge and very muscular, right?
Hmm.
And so they wanted to expand their species, and so they wanted to merge with the humans on Earth for two reasons. One is they just, wanted to experiment, and the other was to infiltrate the light, right?
Totally.
Yeah. And so this was why they wanted to do it. It was as if they were like, attacking the creator energy in this way and saying, we can do this without being stopped in a way, right?
Yeah.
And so they infiltrated the earth and they took these women and basically, they had them as sex slaves. They had them as their servants. They captured them. They took them back. Some of them went to Orion. Some of them they took back to the Draco constellation. A lot of them remained here on the Earth plane. And they were subjected to their experiments. And one of those was this experiment of recycling souls back into incarnation. So the true evolution of a soul before this invasion was that once you finish your incarnation here, you then went into the divine realm and then you ascended as a light being, right?
Hmm.
But this invasion severed that connection,
Oh, so you kept
right?
coming
And
back.
so you kept looping back, looping back, looping back, and they had some sort of technology that they could do that. And so the beings that were captured here have been just, and I'm one of those beings. Yeah, I'm one of
Totally.
those that have had those multiple lifetimes. And I'm not saying this is the case for everybody that's on the earth
No.
plane right now. Um, there have been, others that have come in through, I guess, divine intervention with the other um, civilizations, and there were
Hmm.
agreements made, and there were many other things that happened that allowed for other beings to be incarnated here. So this is just one example of how that divine feminine and divine masculine energy was completely slaughtered, if you will, and removed from its original energies of what the divine masculine and divine feminine energies were meant to be, right?
Totally.
And so now we have the divine masculine masquerading as a rigid energy. It's always in fear.
Mm.
um, there's that inflated ego, right, which manifests as, any, if you look at any sort of high ranking CEO or people
Oh,
of high
yeah.
positions, they have that inflated ego about themselves. And then it's an energy of competition. It's an energy of being in control. In most cases it's unimaginative, right? they
Oh,
they have
totally.
very poor imagination. They have zero sense of creativity, right? And a lot of time there's a lot of lack as far as love and just that energy of the heart, right? Loving,
Hmm.
caring, peace, harmony, that sort of thing. It's a lot of it is just lacking in those areas, right?
No, I hear you.
And then when you come to the female, that is the wounded energy, there's a lack of emotion, and there's just a general lack of abundance. A lot of them are mostly needy, right?
Yeah, lack
They
of
don't have
trust.
that energy of being happy and protected and identifying with themselves in their true authenticity, right? They're
Hmm.
mostly just weak and they're stuck in that trauma, right? From past
Totally.
lives, and it's in their body, in their cells, that they've been carrying with them lifetime after lifetime. And so they show up as being uninspired, or not able to experience pleasure for the sake of pleasure, really,
Yes, yes, yes,
right? And so the flip side of that for the divine masculine is, to my understanding, is, and this is like coming from the time of Yeshua and Mary, right? Or perhaps even before that, right? When the true divine masculine and true divine feminine energies were at their peak, if you will. And another time that would have been so would have been at the time of Atlantis. So this was again
yeah,
another cycle previous to that, right? And so those energies would reflect in being patient, in being protective, being present, having that instinct to survive, but doing it in a loving manner, not
yes,
like
yes.
being aggressive or in competition or whatever, right? And then the other qualities would be that they had integrity, they were open hearted, and in full recognition of their divinity and their power, right? And also they were aware of their connection to the universe, to the creator, to their higher self, right? And they had a strong sense of values, and then a deep connection to the earth as well,
I
because
was going to
when
say
you
a
think
super
about it,
connection. They knew
yeah, yeah,
there was
they
that,
were
that,
aware of that, the seasons and the
yes,
respect. They respected the earth.
they felt they belonged.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah.
And the women, on the other hand, they were joyful, they were creative, they were playful, they were dreamers, they felt safe, they felt protected because they had the support of the divine masculine in their lives, right?
Hmm.
And so they felt loved, and felt that ability to be creative, to be nurturing, to be caring, and they too were deeply connected to the earth, and
Right.
were in alignment with the rhythms of the earth, right? Because that was deeply connected to their body and its own rhythms as well.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it's very different to what we are experiencing now, right? With the suppression and um, the sexual misery that we're experiencing on so many levels.
It's insane. It's yeah, when you're talking about sexual misery, so many people are so very blocked from that energy within them, right?
Hmm.
And when we're talking about sexuality, the trauma that most people associate with
Yeah,
their sexuality, it just makes their entire life out of balance. Because if you're not connected into those lower chakras, what's to keep you here? Do you know what I'm saying? And if people
absolutely.
could be able to understand that creative energy within them, whether they're in a male body or a female or anything. Do you know what I'm saying? It's just
Yeah, absolutely.
being able to just understand that we are creative beings. I had a very quick reading with this gentleman, him and his wife, both seniors, and he just wanted a 15-minute reading and he was so excited. And it was just so fascinating to tap him back in to who he used to. He says, I used to be really creative. And I started talking about carvings and pottery. And oh my God, his eyes just lit up. And it was, he got so excited again. Instead of just,
Hmm.
oh, did oh, this is it.
Yeah,
Said, what's stopping you from tuning back in to that divine creative flow, right?
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Good old Ralph. His name was Ralph. he was so, that was cool. But it's just, you could tell he was that definite, he was the man of the household, right? And his wife was out
Mm.
there waiting for him at this little place where I was at. And it was like the two of them, you could tell they've been together forever and a day, right? And I came out and I'm listening to him talking to her and everything, and he goes and he pays, and she looks over at me and she goes, she said she was so excited. And I went, oh, that's so cool, right? Just a spur of the moment thing. And he
So
walked
they were
out
in
there.
alignment. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just, yeah. So many people that are very, very creative, especially if they're very, very masculine. Some of them have a really hard time bringing that into balance,
Mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm,
I
mm-hmm.
remember my son, when we're talking divine feminine, masculine, when he was taking psychology at university, and they had this thing they did to check to see how balanced you were. How many masculine qualities did you have? How many feminine qualities? And
Mm-hmm.
they made him redo the test because they'd never seen anybody that was right down the center.
Oh, okay.
It was, and he felt really weird about that for the longest time until he realized that just because he was big Mr. Macho landscaper doesn't matter that he's also a very talented writer and creative thinker, right? But
Yeah.
now, all these years later, he's finally coming into alignment to
Mm-hmm.
all of those pieces of him. Sorry,
Yeah.
I was just remembering a
No,
conversation
it's
once.
good because, the masculine has struggled, right? The masculine energy has struggled. And it's not been
Completely.
easy for them to first of all realize what has happened. And then, when you take it into a larger scope, if you will,
Hmm.
and if you consider like past lives and all of that, so it's like this lifetime is enough of a struggle as it is, but then if you incorporate past lives, it's like, wow, that's a lot to deal with, right? And if you then bring in the whole invasion aspect of it, right,
Yeah.
you're going even a step further, and it's like it could be overwhelming, right, for a lot of
Oh,
people
yeah. Like,
to
there's no
really
way I could have
understand.
that kind of conversation with him. You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
What are you looking
Interesting,
at?
hey.
I'm just watching you. What are you
Oh, I was
looking
just making sure that everything is going
at?
okay.
I was going to, on a
Just
little
making
bit.
sure that
Go ahead.
I was just making sure that the live chat is still going. Yeah, it is. We just haven't had too many people come in, so.
Uh-uh. I was going to say the picture behind you, that very, very galactic one.
Hmm.
I've been sitting here, of course, looking at it whenever we're doing this, but I'm definitely seeing this face. There's these two eyes, especially
Oh yeah.
on the left-hand side,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
looking right here. It's quite amazing.
That's actually somebody sitting on the mountain and
I know,
meditating.
like her in the
Yeah.
mountain, it's like she's the very tip of his nose. It's
Yeah,
quite
yeah, yeah. I
amazing.
get it. Yeah. It does look like a face.
Hurt. That's a
That
little squirrel
painting
thing.
actually came to me after I connected with Horus of Egypt.
Oh,
And he had a very interesting story to tell me about his ascension during his incarnation on the earth plane in Egypt.
really?
Yeah. And so he got this sign or this teardrop shape, if you will, that came into his
Third eye.
reality.
It's
Yeah.
like it's sitting right on that guy's
Well,
third
but it
eye.
came into the physical world, and it was in the form of like a what do they call them? Like an earthen pot, if you will.
Okay.
It was in the shape of like a teardrop, and
Mm-hmm.
it was like this divine energy was just pouring out of it, but at the same time it was connected to the higher light like it is in my painting.
Mm-hmm. And it's almost like you're looking through the vagina. It's like
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
creative. There's a lot of stuff in that picture,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah. So it was a lot of fun painting that. But yeah,
Mhm.
that was the inspiration behind that one. So it's very interesting when you hear about these ascension stories from different aspects of these beings, right?
Totally.
And
Totally.
so each of them has a great story to tell. And they're all coming back into this present earth, if you will, because they've had past incarnations on this earth, right? And so they have a connection, or, it's almost like they have um, karma here, right? That they
Well,
want
plus
to.
what it is they're feeling that, I almost want to say, clarion call of all these beings, such as
Mhm.
yourself, especially, that are really open to all these messages from
Yeah,
long ago and far away and galaxies and everything, right? So it's
yeah.
like, oh my goodness, we can go back. It's like we have this legion all ready
Hmm.
to go,
Yeah. No,
right?
and there's like so much light coming in now, right? And because of the Draco leaving, it's like, this, it's like a sigh of relief, right? And
Hmm.
all of the light is able to now replace all of that darkness. And with the frequency fences lifting in many of these places, it's like the earth is also breathing that sigh of relief because she has been constricted herself, right? So if you can
Totally.
imagine a being as large as the earth that was diminished in such a way, right? So her being is, it's like a flower opening up all over again, right? And she's breathing in that fresh air once again of the galactic energies that are coming in through this photon belt that we're traveling through. And it's like a beautiful mist on her being, and it's like she's breathing that energy in, and it's like she's, you know,
You know
flourishing once
what? And
again.
all of the all of the quote unquote disasters that are going on all over the planet, it's like her being able to shed off all
Yeah,
that old clutter, if you want
yeah.
to call it that
Absolutely,
heaviness,
absolutely. Yeah,
that dense energy that is just planted but doesn't grow, right? It
yeah,
just takes up space.
absolutely. So, do you want to hear another interesting story as it relates to frequencies?
I love stories.
This might be a not so fun story to hear, though, because we briefly talked about it. So, these frequencies that were brought in, and this was more recent, though, that it impacted us, right?
Hmm.
Um, and so it relates to music,
Right. Yeah, yeah.
right? And we talked briefly about this. So,
Hmm.
after Second World War, which was I think in around the 1950s, right?
Hmm.
That's when this whole thing sort of came into our reality. I'm reading again from the book. All that is progressing to the fifth dimension, and
Hmm.
this is available on my website. Um, okay. We have, as light beings, seen energy and frequency in its various forms. We have exploded in many dimensions and in various life forms, and even this is a vast exploration by itself. There are so many aspects that one can choose from to explore the potential of frequency. Music is just one tiny element of this energy, and in its vastness, it can unearth so many emotions across the spectrum of any living organism. We have seen experiments conducted on your earthly plane with music and its interactions with humans, animals, and plants.
Mm.
Plants are happier when they are in the presence of music. Their leaves and their energy is much more vibrant
Mm.
and healthier than without the presence of music. Animals' ears pick up, and their demeanor changes in the presence of music. However, the music that has been playing upon your planet, as touched on in earlier chapters, has been tampered with, and this is such a sad deviation from its beautiful element of frequency. All it took for the dark energies was to change the vibratory meter just a few degrees, and it changed the energy from that of divine to tainted.
Mm.
It is a fine threshold to cross, and yet it was done, so that you were subjected to music with an underlying tone that is harmful to your being, the collective, and your environment. A terrible wrong was endowed on your Earth population by your governments and leaders as they embraced the dictates of their dark overlords. The natural frequency of your music in tune with nature was tuned to the harmony of 432 Hz. Subsequent to the dictates of your society in the 1950s, it was dictated into law that all music and its instruments be tuned to 440 Hz.
Okay, so what law decided they had to do that?
Well, this came from I'm guessing from Germany, and then it sort of spread across the world.
Oh,
If you
okay.
look at all of the like since after Second World War, like whoever won the war, like there's many different
Yep.
versions to
Yeah.
that, right? And so they brought this into a sort of a worldwide um,
Okay.
dictate, if you will, right? So all governments all across the world,
Everybody said,
um,
okay, let's do
they
this.
accepted it. Yeah, it's like being a membership of the World Health Organization. Something like this is decided, and then everybody sort of accepts it, right?
Huh.
So this became like a rule across the board, and I'm pretty sure this is what happened because I researched it before I put it into the book, right?
Of
And so
course.
we are
Yeah.
still functioning under that 440 hertz in all music industries,
Wow.
all channels, all any kind of broadcasting station is meant to do it under 440 hertz, which
Wow.
is crazy, right? What
Sorry.
essentially took place was that which was perfect was infiltrated and ever so slightly demonized so that every musical instrument, all music produced, all concerts you heard since that time was tuned to this tainted, distorted low vibrational frequency. The original frequency of 432 Hz was in tune with nature. It was healing. It was a healing, pleasing tone to your ear and to your body as a whole. It was in tune with all living creatures around you, including the water, the foliage, and the animals. By changing the frequency to 444 Hz, the ruling class, in their depravity, found a way to invert purity and allow for their dark trickery to enter the field in ways that would encompass the many and destroy all things created by all that is in its perfection.
Hmm.
So that was another way of sticking it to the creator, right, if you will.
Totally.
Yeah. The tone was then brought into law and is still to this day what is being practiced upon your earth plane, and many of you do not know of the depravity that this is causing your body and mind. It is tuned to lower your consciousness and sever your connection to all that is. It destroys the delicate connectivity of the fabric of the universe that connects you to the larger multiverse. Do your own research and listen to music that is available in these two frequencies and compare them. I have done this, and there is a vast difference.
Wow.
If your ear is not able to discern the difference, then watch experiments that have been conducted on water to demonstrate the visual difference found
Oh,
on a
right. Of the frequency.
molecular level
Yeah.
between these two frequencies. I think that guy's name was Dr. Emoto, I think. I've
Yeah.
seen those.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's really fantastic. These discoveries make us very sad as these atrocities are done to you on a mass scale to affect the entire population. This has become more dangerous in the last few decades with the introduction of the cell phone, where most everyone owns a device and is addicted to this technology.
Ugh.
The embedding of these low vibrational frequencies are closer than ever to your brain and your body, and so this is being bombarded all the time. We suggest that you try your best to move away from these tones and find music that is tuned to the more natural sounds of 432 Hz. Tune your musical instruments to this tone, and you will see the change in not only yourself, but the ones that listen to your music as well.
Okay. So my question
Mm-hmm.
hurts. How do you H2?
HZ.
Oh, it's
HZ.
just HZ. That's right.
Well, HERTZ, but its short form is HZ.
HZ. That was it. I was going, man, there's only a couple of letters there. So it's just when you're talking about these frequencies that are really okay. Like I know there's all different kinds of music out there, but I
Yep.
do know that certain music, and the only place I would ever hear it is if one of the kids at the gym got in charge of keeping all the music in the gym. And it's that rah, angry
Mm,
headbanger stuff. And I wonder about all the thousands of people that are in a stadium,
yeah.
all with that. To me, it's the vibration of rage.
Yeah.
And I'm going, oh my God, why is that even a thing? But when you think about it, a lot
Well,
of people, they have so much anger, and
hmm,
that way they can get it out and
yeah.
they're not physically harming anyone. But
Yeah.
what that does to your little heart and soul, I mean, I just almost start to shake. It's so
Yeah.
uncomfortable,
Yeah.
right? And I
And you feel
know,
it, right, in your energy when you enter a room, perhaps when people are angry, you instantly feel that, right?
oh,
So that's your body.
totally.
That's the purity of your body when it comes into contact with this lower vibrating energy. So if you scale it up to a concert, like you were just talking about, it's like
Mhm.
that much more fierce and
God.
destructive to your body, right?
And
And
unfortunately, a
see,
lot
there's
of
a,
people at those kinds of concerts,
yeah,
they're usually drinking excessively,
yeah,
not to mention everything else, right? And so
yeah,
your brain, it's not your brain, it's your whole body is responding
yeah,
to this very negative vibe,
yeah.
right? That
Totally. And
makes
that's
me,
part of the depravity, right? And the inversion. Because see, when you look at it from their perspective, Catrice, they thrive on the energy that we emit,
mhm.
right? And so that's like food for them,
Oh yeah,
right? And so
totally.
they are absorbing all of that energy into their body, and that's what sustains them, right? So if you're having a concert, that's like a festival, really, a true
Oh yeah.
festival. It's a true festival for them, where they can gorge themselves on the energies that are emitting from that space, right? And so yeah, we're still discovering all the dark secrets of how these beings infiltrated and how they lived and how we are meant to
Mhm.
be living. So, all of that is just in the inversion of it. Like when you think about what the music industry is today, it's catering to all of these energies, right? Like none of it
Totally.
is pure, none of it is really worthy of listening. Like if you compare it, and you probably would have been a youngster when, in the 60s and, the 70s, right? And that
Mm.
music was so pure, right? If you compare it to what we are listening to now, right? So
But I think I was talking to you at one point about that, all that the music, right, was pure. Yes, in the 60s and 70s, there was a different kind of energy to the music. I get it.
yeah,
And I've noticed a lot of people, seniors, oh, those were the good old days. And that's
yeah,
all they want to listen to is
yeah,
stuff from back then. I
hmm,
think because I'm a little light being, why would I hold myself back to that
yeah,
when I can be opening to all these amazing other kinds of music,
yeah,
things that
yeah,
are resurrected now that have those undertones
yeah,
of 60s and 70s.
yeah,
There was this song I was listening, all of a sudden I heard it. I went, oh my God, does that take me back?
yeah,
And I went, who is this person? And
yeah,
it's some new young kid.
yeah,
And he really looks like he should be just going to baseball practice.
yeah,
And he sounded like this amazing, soulful dude who'd been around forever. And
yeah.
it was just an amazing, it reminded me of, good old when we used to go dancing all the time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's nothing wrong about listening to it. Like we all love
No,
music. I don't think I've met anybody who doesn't love music, right? It's just we need to be conscious about
of what we're
the
listening to.
caliber of music that we are listening to. Like if somebody's singing, that's a purity that's coming from their being. So it's
Mhm.
untainted, it's not tainted, right?
Yeah.
It's the instruments that are connected, if you will, to the I'm going to say the government or the
Okay. Yeah.
laws,
Okay.
right? So if you personally tune your guitar, if you will, to this 432 hertz. And I've done that to my guitar. I know I've taken a few lessons, so
Hmm.
I've gone and found the 432 frequency and tuned my guitar to that frequency so
Hmm.
that I'm not playing in that tainted frequency, right? So I'm very sure there are many musicians that play that pure tune or that pure tone that is in tune with the 432. And I have a
Mhm.
feeling one artist that did that was Michael Jackson.
Okay.
So, he was in tune with that frequency. And another one was, I know this also for a fact, was Whitney Houston.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah.
her music was beautiful, wasn't it? So these
Mhm.
are all beings that were directly connected to their heart center, if you will, and they were in the know that, this was the way they wanted their music to be heard, right? But
Mhm.
again, they got tangled with the control systems and, with the drugs and with the alcohol and, whatever else that came their way, right?
Oh, I
And
hear
so these
you.
systems find you some way or the other and bring you down, if you will, right? So
Hmm. Wow. Whoa.
interesting, hey?
Totally.
Anyway, I think we've come to the end of our hour. Did you want to
Okay.
say anything else to
To
bring this
wrap that
conversation to an
up,
end?
okay, when you mentioned the bit about, was it 2012 you said the Draco left?
The decree was issued in
Okay.
2012. No,
Oh,
but
okay.
they haven't completely left.
But
There's
they're
there's there's been yeah, I mean, like, if you look at it from their perspective, they're like, huh, why should I leave,
Oh, I know.
right?
But
So they are,
2012, so many different things went on that year.
yeah,
It's quite
yeah.
interesting too for me when we're talking about that masculine feminine thing. My father was a very angry, man. But over the years, of course, everybody else has sort of said, forget it. And I thought, well, I can't, I'm just not like that. Somebody
Mm,
has to put up with Stan, right? Anyway, he lasted till 92. So you go, but he left in 2012. And there was a bunch of other stuff that ended up just fading away
mm.
after he transitioned. It was quite
Oh, yeah.
interesting. It
Mm,
was like, not having that particular energy on the planet, that
mm,
I was keeping myself connected to it, but staying back. But once it was gone,
yeah.
it was like I felt this huge freedom.
Yeah.
And it was funny because you didn't even realize that you were still holding that energy back, right?
Mm, mm.
So good old 2012.
Yeah, yeah, it was a very remarkable time, I should say. But going back to your point of clearing these energies from the earth plane, it's still happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you tuned in with the roundtables that I've had or the discussions I've had with the Indigo Angel and the other ladies. Um, she and I and many others, like she heads these what they call grid work missions, right?
Okay.
And so we go on these grid work missions and we clear all of these stargates that are on the earth plane that have been strongholds
Oh,
for the
fun.
Draco, right? And
Oh.
so we go to all of these places, we draw like a
Is
map
this,
and we
you
go to
said
them.
Indigo and Angel? Is that?
Indigo Angel is her
Yeah, yeah,
channel
yeah.
on YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah, her website is indigoangel222.com, I believe. But her work is totally fascinating. And so we go on these missions and it's like remote viewing all of these energies in these places, right? And so we go in as a group
Fun.
and we clear all of these energies. And from my perspective and the connection that I have with the ascended masters and the beings that I work with, so
Yeah.
it's like we are the ground crew and they are like the energies from
The
the
overview.
light, right? And
Yeah.
so it's like we do the groundwork, and then once they're able to capture all of these beings, and say we did like the 10th gate, which is located in Iran, once they're able to capture these energies, they have a method within which they take them off planet for processing,
Ah, I love
right?
it. I love
And
it.
what I mean by processing is that because of the decree that has been issued by the creator, they can do one of two things. they can go back to the point where they deviated and went on this invasion spree, if you will, right? So they go back to that point, or they go back to dust, to space dust, which is nothing, right? So their incarnation comes to an end. So if they
Ha.
do go back to that point of where they disconnected, they have to go through a healing within their own energy field to reflect on all the things that they did since that point of separation,
Whoa.
right? So they're going back as evolved, healed beings to move forward from that point.
Love
So
it.
to me, it's like they've taken this fantastic scenic route and done all the bad things possible on the Earth plane and where else other galaxies and planes of existence that they created havoc on.
And now they're going
And
back
now
to the
they're being
beginning
reined
of the
in.
crime. And
Yeah, they're being reined in in a way they're sort of, yeah, it's either this or that. There's no other option. And so when they're taken off planet, this is what's happening to them. It's like a reckoning, right? They have
wow.
to go through this process. So it's very, very interesting. And for me personally, I've been like clearing the grids of this Draco for the last maybe, I don't know, I'm going to say 7 years, 5 to 7 years, personally on a personal mission.
Wow.
So
And
everywhere
now
I
you're all
drive,
connected with these
everywhere I
other
drive,
beings. Yeah.
yeah, so British Columbia and everywhere I've been has pretty much been clear of all of the Draco energy.
Whoa.
So,
Sorry. Sorry. All of a sudden, a very bright red light is flashing in front of my house.
oh.
They're here to take me away. Oh my God. I'm kidding. I think with that,
Do you have to go?
I'm trying to figure out what it. Oh, it's just sorry. It's my neighbor backed in, and his
Okay.
backup lights were very bright. Ah, funny.
Anyway, I think we've talked enough for today, but thank you, Catrice,
Thank
for
you.
spending this time with me, and I'd like to thank our viewers for tuning in.
Totally.
And yeah, hopefully this means a lot to you as it means to us, and
Well, and
in
I
sharing all
also,
of this
yeah,
information with the collective.
totally. And I can't wait to, I'll be thinking of more topics for us to
Yeah,
really
absolutely, absolutely.
put out there into cyberspace.
Yeah, and we have so much to talk about. Like, yeah, there's so many subjects we can get into,
Oh,
and
I'm kidding.
I love
Yeah.
chatting with you. So this
Yeah,
has been a good banter.
it's fun. All right, hon. You
Thank
have
you
a
so
lovely
much. I
evening.
appreciate you.
Okay,
And
Ashley.
to
Talk to
everybody
you soon.
watching, thank you so much. Please put a like on this video, share it with your friends, and yeah, please visit our websites. Please contact either Catrice or myself if you feel called to have a session with us, or buy my books to explore these subjects some more. So thank you for tuning in.
Thank you, hon.
Namaste.
Namaste.